breathing. All of life is breathing. Plants are breathing. Trees are breathing. The earth is breathing. Tiniest creature is breathing. We're all breathing this one presence, this one constancy of love and life. No matter how great or how small. We remember not just that we breathe, but that we are being breathed into life. And on this day, as we think of the story of Jesus and his friends and followers coming together to celebrate the Passover, they were being breathed with this fullness of life. Great changes were coming, but they were changes that were for that moment in time. Changes that would last forever. Changes that lit the world even in the midst of a very dark time. And we know the workings of spirit. We accept that in those moments that seem formidable or dark, we are breathing this one life presence that moves in and through us, and moves not just in and through us, but lives as us and expresses through us as a brilliant light that can never be suppressed. And so wherever you are, and whatever your experience in this moment, or however you've been seeing your life or your relationships or your work or your finances, however you've been seeing a world that seems upside down, the brilliance of the light that is shining in the midst of you and anything that concerns you is an unstoppable, unsuppressible force. I invite you to move into a deeper state of trust. Just imagine letting your feet be guided without having to tell yourself how to walk. Imagine being born without telling yourself how to move from that tight enclosure into the world. Imagine all those times when it seemed that guidance was absent, but somehow you arrived in the right and perfect place. Imagine how many times without knowing, without a clue, life was leading you, guiding you, blessing you, loving you, ordering, reordering, settling, renewing, turning it upside down again and off on the next leg of the journey. No, it's such an insight into all those things we do not know. But somehow Spirit knows, life knows, perfection is present, and all things move forward in the rhythm of the divine. And so here we are in this moment, allowing ourselves to be breathed, allowing ourselves to be lived, allowing ourselves to hear the still small voice of Spirit speaking in us and through us. Here we are. And we are in as the very manifestation of the One. We're so grateful for inspiration and remembering and realizing that with God all things really are in perfect order. And with God all things are possible, because it can be no other way. With love in our hearts, with the deepest gratitude and praise, we give thanks. And so it is, and so it ever shall be. Amen.
Okay, so this is about the road today. So when side by side, I don't know what's coming tomorrow. Maybe it's trouble and sorrow, but we'll travel along, singing a song side by side. Through all kinds of weather, what if the sky should fall? Just as long as we're together, it don't matter at all. And they've all had their quarrels and parted. We'll be the same as we started, traveling along, singing a song side by side. Through all kinds of weather, what if the sky should fall? Just as long as we're together, it don't really matter at all. When they've all had their quarrels and parted, we'll be the same as we started, traveling along, singing a song, side by side, side by side, side, side by side. Thank you. There you go.
You know what we get here, because we are kind of a small place, we get this really intimate experience here. It's like, I don't know, we say things, do things like, are we speaking to thousands? I think not. So all of a sudden, we're speaking like our little family here, our great, wonderful family, but we operate differently than certainly my history of church, and I love it because there's a whole lot of freedom here in this ministry for being who we really are, instead of pretending to be something else. We do spiritual work here. We're really dedicated to spiritual work here. We don't do it just to dominate some time and space. We really invest ourselves in the beliefs that we teach, and the ideas that we hold, and the learning and growing that continues on what we call our spiritual journey. And I think for Jesus, I can make up stuff about Jesus if I want to. You can too, if you'd like. But I just get he was like that. He wasn't just a fountain that was pouring it out. He was constantly learning and growing and infilling on his journey. He wasn't just he didn't come, like fully. He was he was a divine being beyond explanation, having a human experience like you, like any one of us, in his own way. He was pretty precocious about it. He started really young, knowing who he was, but it didn't change the fact that that he wasn't just somebody who came and sat on the throne. He never took that position. He never wanted that position for spiritual power, for anything other than setting people free. Everything was about setting people free from enslavement, from the perception that was enslaving them. Like, I'm here. I'm a construction worker for God. I'm poking holes in walls of consciousness and reconstructing ways of seeing and being and thinking. Hard work, a different kind of work that he really was consumed by. And yet, he was a human being having a human living experience in the midst of these phases of awakening, these phases of opening that we see. And I know, God made man, or God come as Jesus, or Jesus as God, confuses people into the belief that somehow, this deified being didn't have a human experience. as he was going around doing his miracles and whatever else was happening. But he was doing what he did through the experience of being a spiritual being, having a human incarnation. He was literally living out what he was doing and teaching and being in his own unfolding, in his own journeying. So no, he cared not for a throne, and as far as I can tell in anything I read, it wasn't about publicity. It really was about 2 people and 3 people and 100 people just being touched by a possibility beyond the one they were living with, the idea they were holding, just seeding possibility everywhere, 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 in everything, right up to the Good Friday experience, upcoming this Friday, and then on in and through the resurrection, seeding an idea, just because as he continued to be that which he was, he could lift and stir and energize possibilities on behalf of anyone who could or would see and hear the truth at that deeper level. And so the deified Jesus is so glorious and precious, and the message in that is so beautiful. But we miss the message if we don't realize that was happening while he was continuing to live a human experience, and that the rising up occurred through these passages and transitions and these turns in the road that presented themselves along the way. It was only in the last years of his life that he took to a public presentation. Before that, he was learning and growing and unfolding. We have theories about that, but we don't really know that story. It's not written. But we know this story, and we know that he knew that the road had turned. Hanging with the guys and, trying to wake up the disciples who were asleep more than they were ever awake until they had to be. Was no easy task, and going wherever to do whatever was before him, which appeared on the road frequently. He didn't go somewhere to make it happen. It happened around him in those moments, and he met those moments, and every story is like that. He didn't go seeking people to have a miracle. All he had to do was walk down the road, and somebody showed up, and he checked their faith quotient and said, "You're good. Doing good. Your faith register is looking good. Go for it. You ask, Spirit gives. It's done." Over and over again. "Not my work," he said. "I'm here, but I'm an instrument. It's not me. It's the Father within me who does this work. If it's doing the work in me, it's doing the work in you. Here we go. Let's take on the next course." So I love Jim Freeman's passage. It starts this way. Well, it doesn't just start this way. This is it. "We make an immortal journey through chance and change, by way of worlds forgotten and courses unremembered, yet graven in my soul. I came here and I journey on. I've risen on innumerable mornings. I have slept through innumerable nights. I have journeyed on innumerable journeys. I have lived in familiar and unfamiliar worlds. I have had brave and beautiful companions, lovely friends. I shall have them yet again. I have been weak and strong and wise and unwise. I have come on much curious knowledge, some remembered, some forgotten. I've done many deeds, some worthy, some unworthy. What I am undertaking, I am not sure. But somehow I am sure it is an enterprise worthy of my effort. Where I am going, I am not sure. But I am sure it is a destination worthy of myself. Here I am at this place on this day. Tonight I shall lie down once more to sleep, and tomorrow I shall rise again and journey on. I love that. I may not know where I'm going, but I'm sure it's a destination worthy of itself. What I'm undertaking, I don't know, but somehow I'm sure it's an enterprise worthy of my effort. And tonight, God willing, I'll lie down once more to sleep, and tomorrow I'll get up and journey on. Which is the story that Jesus brought. The story that when there's something to be done, when there's something that it's time for, when there is an unfolding before us, the process is worthy unto itself. Not the outcome, because one doesn't know outcome, but the process is a worthy process. The journey is a worthy journey. And it's easy to say, and we're made of the stuff that meets journeys. We're made of the stuff that meets turns in the road. We are made of the stuff that allows that arising of an awareness in us about how we can allow more of that presence, the one, to be the reality of our existence, because it is. And therein lies the reality of the path. Not the outcome and not the full knownness of it, but that knowing that I can't be anywhere that hasn't already been woven for me. I can't be outside the glorious and good, even when it looks unglorious and anything but good. So particularly, we look at this story and try to put, when I try to put my emotion into Jesus's experience, it's ridiculous, because I'm not certainly saying that that's what I want to do, or put ideas on you that you don't believe or see to be true. I never want to do that. But for me, he knew this turn in the road was coming. Lazarus, his friend, had died, and he went. He went and did the monumental thing, which was to please Mary and Martha, his friends, Lazarus' sisters. He did that for them because they said, if you'd only been here, this wouldn't have happened, basically. So come and make it right. And he did. And out of that miracle of raising Lazarus, which is a big story unto itself, the priests and the high officials in Jerusalem started to plot how to get rid of him. Too much power, they said. He's going to create a problem if we let him go. So we just have to take him out. The decision was made just right at that moment on that level, the governmental level, that he would not survive his time in Jerusalem. And he went into hiding for a while. He backed up. He knew that he was at threat because he wanted it to be timely. He wanted that turn when it actually came to be in the best interest of as many people as possible. And perhaps it would make a change. And perhaps it would make the kind of change that would really have high impact governmentally and religiously on different levels. So going to Jerusalem on Palm Sunday was, he knew, the marking point, the transition point from life as it had been to life as it was going to be. And he knew right then that surrender was all he had. Surrender and the kind of action and the willingness to put everything he had into it to see what would emerge, what could be seeded, what could be planted, what potential could be planted in that time. And in that time, we see that it was a monumental week in every possible way. Dr. Ernest Wilson said, from the human standpoint, it was devastating. He brings it all. From the spiritual standpoint, it is the ongoing journey of growth from one state of consciousness to another, and the evidence that even death is not the end. As Ernest Wilson writes that, and I have studied it for 50 years now. How many Palm Sundays have I been part of? A whole lot. The steps in the way are so powerfully transformational that you can't miss them, really. So the temple, I know there's a lot of religious history and tradition, and there are a lot of scholars who have studied the experience in the temple. But if I'm going to internalize the story of the temple and the turning over of the tables and the money changers and the dove sellers and the whatever that was going on in that place that had nothing to do with spiritual value, only had to do with power and position, it had nothing to do with spiritual value. That turning upside down is that moment in consciousness when we look at where we've been putting our value. What is it that we're allowing to dominate the experience we're living in? So here we go. We're in Jerusalem. What is that state? It's a habitation of peace, supposedly. Well, in the outward sense, there was no peace, certainly. And there were a whole lot of people around, and everything that he did had tremendous symbolism to it. But in those moments, it says, as he released that passion, that power, the transformation that took place right then was it was just this powerful explosion of consciousness. That opened up right then. It's like took that construction hammer and really took down some walls, really did something right then. That in our own consciousness, when we look at the way in which we've given away the totality of our being to the money changers in the temple and the dove sellers and the crap that goes on in our minds every day, as though we had no power over it, as though we couldn't meet it, as though we couldn't shift a pattern that we're giving our attention to. And his decision, it's like this clear decision. This is holy space. This is holy space. This is holy space. This is holy space. And we can change that focus of our attention if we are willing to align with the unknown, with what is rising in us, to be present, to meet, to move through, to transform. It's like a statement of power, a declaration of divine power. I'm claiming this space for God. I have to claim this space for God and the God of my beingness, because if I continue the way I'm going, I just pollute all the energy and move into states that produce nothing except more suffering. And if anything, what he wanted was to reduce suffering, like Buddha. How can I free you from suffering? What suffering? The suffering of your mind. The suffering through the experience of life. Here, turn the table upside down. Get things right side up here as best you can. By what? By remembering who and what is true in this moment in time. We bring that. When we forget, we know we forgot, because all of a sudden our vibration goes down and we start to wobble on every level. And it's the clue. It's not the circumstance. It's what the mind has decided is true in that moment that takes us down. Well, the other one that meant so much to me is that experience with the tree. I love of the Palm Sunday and Holy Week stories. The story of the tree, the fig tree. He's hungry. And he's on his way back to the temple. He's been off for a few hours. He took a few hours off. We don't see a lot of that happening, but he's resting. He's got some rest time. And he's on his way back, and here's a tree, a fig tree, that is not producing fruit. And he's hungry. So these are really strong actions. I mean, we're in the temple. We've overturned the way things have always been. We're upsetting complacency and stuckness and moving through this gluey stuff. And now we're on the road, and it's morning, and it's a new day, and here's another hit, and it's big. It's like, this has the potential for something wonderful in it, like fruit. But it's just taking up space. He said it could bear fruit. It could bear, this circumstance could bear fruit. This could be a really productive time. Something amazing that's nurturing, nourishing, and transforming could happen here. But this state of mind, this tree of thought, this way of seeing and being, even though it's part of the process, it's all part of the process. But remaining in that state does no good. And he withered the tree. He just said, and withered the tree. This tree will never produce fruit again, he said. What? This state of mind that cannot be changed or is not willing for transformation. Every turn in the road is always a transformation. Every turn in the road is always a point where infinite potential has already prepared the way for the transformation of whatever it is we're seeing, doing, thinking, or going through. The infinite potential is present before we even know that there is something that's going to be called forth. Everything is already there. The result of that means that even though I can't see it or don't know it, in that moment, when the turn in the road comes, whatever that is for us, when the entry into Jerusalem takes place, we have already been prepared up for it. It's the steps that we go through that demand of us that we can find place in consciousness that supports and sustains us. And that's the great work. That's the mastery work that we're about in this time. How it's already established. And so he looks at this and this tree and he says, this is in your way. It's not. Plant a tree that it wasn't the right fig tree, or it needed a companion, or something needed to happen. But as it was not beneficial to what was going on. Great tree, probably loved it. Whoever planted it did it in good-heartedness for figs or whatever. For whatever reason, it wasn't going to take him anywhere. It wasn't going to get him down the road. Nice tree, but not helping you now. Not going to get you where you're going. And so we reached the point of the Passover meal and the great teachings, and he walks through it all, and people show up to be healed, and he's in the temple teaching, and people are coming and going and murmuring, and they want him to be what he isn't. Can you imagine? They want him to be what he isn't. He's not what they thought they wanted. They're not getting things the way they thought they should be. We got blind men being healed. We've got people plotting over here in the corner. We've got money exchanges going on. We've got his whole life is up for grabs at that point. And he's surrendering. He's surrendering. And he's bringing forth the core ideas of everything that ever would or ever will or ever could matter. It's like, whoa. In the midst of this, in the midst of all that going on, and the people and the voices and the disappointments and he's like, well, what's the most important thing I have to bring right now? Which is a very personal experience. It may have nothing to do with the crucifixion. It may just be, what's the most important thing I could do right now to surrender and bring forth what's mine to do in the midst of this moment? Who will I be now? And that's the great call. When the road turns, who will you be? We don't know because we haven't been there before. We don't know what it's going to ask or what it's going to do. We just know it's where we are. And if we're people who are journeyers and seekers and people who want to make something more of what we experience, we look at it and we go, don't know, but I'm here. And that's what he said. I don't know. How could he know the resurrection would actually physically occur? He didn't know. I mean, that cross experience was no fun. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, you can be God incarnate, but when you, and many of you know this, if you've walked through your own crucifixion, you know that the other side is not apparent. But there you are. And you are God being brought into manifestation in that moment in all your fullness. There's nothing missing in that. For me or for you or for anybody. So, we say, well, it's what it's time for. And then we say, with God, I can do this. It's a turn in the road. I had other plans. Or I didn't have any plans and I was wondering what was next in life. And here it is. And most people spend the greatest amount of that time wishing they'd done things differently. Like, really? Die wishing we'd done it differently? Or live it differently in the place we find ourselves? Seriously. Like, I don't have to change the past to be present to the wonder of life. Have to go backward. I need to go forward with the awareness that this is what is and it's what it's time for. And I'm not alone, and neither are you. I've received, so, I've told this story now so many times this week, but just letting the news be spoken. And I really wanted to read you something, but if I do, it's going to take a long time. So I'll just do this part. So beginning the second week of February, I had a pain in my belly, and I'd been really tired, and I'd been really tired for a long time, and so it's just like, getting older, getting not healthier, being in housebound for so long, and that's just how things were. Ellen, there's one over on the platform. If you're going for Kleenex, that would help. So I went to the doctor, got medicine. It had a bad reaction. They sent me to the ER. They said, have a CAT scan, had a CAT scan, and came out of the hospital being told that I needed to see an oncologist immediately. And so I did. We did. And I've been scanned and biopsied and through every kind of scan you can imagine, and worked up and been to the cancer care clinic a couple times. First time was really a scary experience. Not because they did bad things, they were lovely, because nobody wants to walk into a cancer care clinic. And yeah, so more to do, more processes, more testing, whatever. And on Monday, this past Monday, then final diagnosis and treatment protocol. So I begin treatment tomorrow, and the cancer. It's an interesting thing. You say this. Maybe you don't want to hear this, or maybe you've been through this. God love you. But in either case, I don't on like a huge majority of me doesn't know I'm sick. I don't look sick. I put my makeup on this morning. I'm like, here I am. So I don't, and it's not bad to have a little extra weight at a time like this, because you can kind of get away with things you can't when you're just little and you start to look under more duress. Anyway, the outcome on Monday was that I have 6 cycles, 21 days apart, of what they call very aggressive, very high-dose chemotherapy. And when I spoke to all 3 of my primary caregivers, doctors, in the same couple of days, and said, I can work, right? I can do Easter, right? And they said, they kind of either looked away for a minute or came back and said, it's different for different people, but we think not. And no, you can't do Easter Sunday, which really, if I swore on camera, which I'm not going to do, but it starts with P and it ends with D. I was so upset that I couldn't do Easter Sunday. It was like, are you kidding me? It's the most important thing I could do, Easter Sunday. Why? Because that message is so important to me. It's always important to me, but right now, Easter Sunday was like, that's a big deal. And they said, no, you need to start your treatment right now. And we think not Easter Sunday. So the rest of the schedule, I've communicated with the board, and this is the most wonderful board in the world, and so we're putting together speaker plans and doing all those things, and we're hoping to upgrade technology some so that if I can't be here, that I can come in through Zoom on Sundays, do meditation on a Sunday, or do a lesson. Apparently, along the way, it gets a little more difficult for me to be out and about. In the course of the treatment, if you take it at face value, but I don't know that. I mean, I don't know anything about it. I only know that tomorrow my life changes, and it does. And I even know when I'm going to lose my hair. Pretty much the prediction about when my hair is going to fall out, and that matters to me. If you want to know. What tripped you up? It was like, am I going to lose my hair? Mm-hmm. Do you know when? It was like, tell me when. What did I do this week before my first treatment? I got my hair done. I got a haircut. I got my hair color in. I thought, if I can only have this precious hair for another month, I'm gonna do with it what I want, because that matters to me. Even if I don't leave the house, it matters to me when I look in the mirror. So, it's a ride, friends, and through the graciousness of the board, I'm on the ride with you, and hopefully you're with me. Somebody, yesterday I got an email. Somebody sang to me in an email, made a recording. It was so beautiful, this wonderful inspirational song. Somebody gave me this beautiful military coin that says, "Put on the whole armor of God." Somebody sent me a little translucent, shiny angel that I can hold when I need something in my hands. I People are asking, what can we do? What can we do? And right now, we don't know what we need. So we don't know what to ask for, but we so appreciate your generosity and your love. And Sunday mornings here are going to go on, and they're going to go on with great speakers, wonderful opportunities. My friend Rabbi Ted Falcon has agreed to do Zoom for us. He's not traveling out right now, but other Unity ministers and other spectacular people that we're engaging, and we're in the work of scheduling and making those things happen. And then for me, I just kind of get to swim in and out where I can and doing what I can do. And it's not the end. The recovery rate with this high-dose chemotherapy over this 6-month period of time, with all that goes with it, has an 80% remission or recovery rate. 10 to 20%, they had to write that, don't. But the other 80% of us are going to keep on keeping on. And I feel strongly that I'm not at an end, I'm at a beginning. And that I'm not over, I'm birthing. And it requires a kind of surrender that I certainly I have believed that I understood surrender, but not like this. Just not like this. And worry does not help me. And I don't need worry. I need people who see and know with me that no matter what, I'm whole. And that Spirit never leaves me alone. Not in the night, not in the day. I hold that for you, and I believe that you hold that for me. And that you're my family. I know it's late. I told my mother yesterday, if you want to just, if you really think, okay, I've done the hard preliminary work. Tell your mother you've got cancer, your 96-year-old mother. I've been really centered throughout. I explained it last week. I don't have any. I haven't been visited by the why me or any of that crap. It just isn't showing up in me at all. But I'll tell you, I haven't cried much, except when I tell you. So there you go. Lucky you. I just came apart after I told her. I thought of all the things I would not want to say to my mother. That was it. But then I thought, oh no, there are worse things I could have said to my mother. It just broke her, and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything to help her, and that was the worst part. I can't do what I'd like to do, which is do what I would always do, and I can't do it, which is true of very many things, I think. So this afternoon, I'm going to clean my closet, because it's been driving me crazy. I'm going to put a few things away in my office, and I'm going to let the ride begin. And the road has turned, and I'm on for the journey, and I'm on with you for your journey, whatever it is, because any one of us who's walking and really doing the walk makes a difference for all the rest of us who must also do that walk in their own way, in their own time. So I love you, and I'm still here, and I'm still going to be here. And I'm really, really grateful for our community. I don't need anything right now, but I know I'm loved, and it means everything, and that Kay is loved. And I don't know what support she's going to need, because we don't know what this looks like either. But I'm so grateful for those of you who have said, and what about Kay? What does Kay need? That means so much to me. So I'm going to take a deep breath. Yeah, here we go. It's Palm Sunday. What a perfect beginning. We bless those offerings that you continue to offer so freely and abundantly. I give joyfully and easily, for God is my source, and abundance is my nature. Whatever you do, please know how grateful we are for every thought and every blessing you offer the ministry. Anytime, but in this time. And as always, we end with a prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God watches over us. The presence of God scoops us up and holds us so near and so close to the heartbeat of all that is blessing us now, that we can't be anywhere outside that divine, extraordinary gifting. For you, for me, for us all, may we know that this is a good day and all is well. And so it is.